All right, guys, welcome back to Turbo Time. Today we're going to be taking on this intake manifold install, the one we were comparing to the CSF manifold, which is the Alibaba special. I'm going to be giving you guys some time lapse and a walkthrough the way I normally do. We're going to check for fitment, and pretty much tell you anything I encounter along the way, and any tips and tricks I learn, I'll pass on to you guys. All right, guys, so a little pre-assembly off camera. Basically, I just took this thing out of the box. I went ahead and put on all the different brackets that are going to hold the evap, which I won't be deleting. The wire harnesses and stuff that run on here. This kit did bring some hoses. They were silicone. They didn't look like the highest quality. I went ahead and just picked up a couple of Gates hoses just because they are higher quality. I don't want to risk any coolant leaks or anything from something silly. I did go ahead and Loctite all of the fittings, everything that you block off, you know, all of these ports, and then the extra vacuum reference ports, the way you would do on any of these manifolds if you're not going to use that. These are the quick connects that are going to go to the factory connections. They'll go in here. Obviously, I'll cut it to length, and this was just going to give me the best option. This is the fuel rail that comes with this kit. Goes right up on there. We'll be using some ID 1050s, but they suggest that you go ahead and you cut these to measure 4 inches on the top one from the beginning of this bracket to the end of the hose. So about 4 inches, and then to cut the other one at 3 inches. They're an inch offset, so it puts the hoses pretty close there for them to run and give you space to route them like around the oil filter housing, because oil filter housing is going to end up down here. You're going to want to run them around to be able to get access. But we're going to be doing the disassembly now of the factory manifold. It looks more complicated than it is. Really, we just got to peel all these wire harnesses back, go ahead and disconnect all the evap stuff, and this manifold should come right out of there. All right, so for all you guys who are trying to take this on yourself, I'm going to point out pretty much everything that needs to come off. I put this little painter's tape here just so when we take off the charge pipe, it doesn't mark up the charge pipe. But basically, we will be just moving all of these harnesses back. The way they come off is you just kind of pull on these tabs. You push back on the tab and they lift on up. So we're going to be taking off this wire harness. The other harness I already peeled up. And then all of your evap stuff. It's the same type of plugs. You pull back on the gray piece, then push down. That's the only electrical connector, I believe. That and your T-map sensor. You're not going to reuse any of the hardware. Your kit should bring some hardware because, for example, that holds that on for the evap, and on the T-map sensor, as well as your throttle body bolts. All of those are made to thread into plastic. So the kit will bring hardware to go ahead and put all of that, because the metal manifold has fine threads. All right, the only part of this project that requires getting the car in the air is draining the coolant. You don't have to drain it from here, but if you disconnect the manifold without draining it, it's gonna make a huge mess. You're gonna take off these two panels. They're on there with 8mm bolts. I suggest you put them somewhere like me in a Ziploc bag and don't lose any of them. From there, we're gonna come on down here and we're gonna find this coolant hose right here. This coolant hose is your heat exchanger, and we'll be able to drain the entire cold side of the system from here. These clips are fairly simple. What we're gonna do is get in here with a screwdriver, and we're just gonna pop that clip up like that. The ones under the manifold are the same style. As soon as we pop that clip out as so, as soon as we jiggle on this a little bit and pull down, that'll come down. So I'm gonna drain that now. It did fight me a little bit. I found what you wanna do, keeping in mind that this is all plastic, is I put a screwdriver right in here and I pry down gently to get some separation. We're gonna go ahead and let it drain. If you use a clean bucket, you can reclaim this coolant. I'm not going to, although it is a clean bucket. Winter is about over where I live, so I'm gonna do a combination of distilled water and water wetter. From what I understand, that's the best results for cooling. All right, our manifold's ready to come out. Like I said, all you want to do is just kind of peel off everything that is attached to it. So you disconnect your T-map, all of the evap stuff can come off in one piece. I went ahead and just threw it up here for mock-up, but it can all come off together that way. Obviously charge pipe, throttle body. If you have the factory manifold, the charge pipe bolts are 10 mils. Throttle body bolts are 10 mil. I had an aftermarket charge pipe, so I had Allen's. I believe if you have the factory charge pipe, they are also 10 mil. And these are gonna be 10 mil. These are all of our manifold bolts. And that is what it's gonna take to get it off of here. There's also over here and over there, those are gonna be E-Torques. They're gonna be E10s. And those will go back on potentially with the manifold. I don't know if they fit with the Foley spacer. But let's go ahead and get this manifold off. All right, so first test fit, it's just kind of laying in the bay, just to get an idea of how it's gonna line up and how I wanna run everything. I will say the fitment appears to be pretty spot on. It did use OEM gaskets. I think I have to bend that fuel line just a little bit because it looks like it's touching in the back. All right, I do have the system in vacuum just to make sure I don't have any leaks. A few tips. That evap line absolutely needs to run in front of the coolant hoses. If you route it around back, it doesn't reach well, and it kind of pulls tight on the entire system. Both of these hoses, you want them to run in front of the oil filter housing as well. And then you want them to sit on the inside of this AC line. Took a couple of connects and disconnects to figure that out. But connecting these lines is far easier on this manifold. I would say the hardest part of this entire job is taking off the coolant lines from the factory manifold. But I will say fitment's excellent. Fits well. I wouldn't say it is an easy job, but it's not that difficult. Like I said, the most challenging part of the entire install is getting the coolant lines off of the factory manifold, which we have over here. They're the same style connector as the other hose we took off to drain the coolant at the beginning of the video. So you just pull the pin. They don't pull straight out. You kind of got to jiggle them back and forth. Try to jiggle them while pulling out. They don't twist off. They just kind of jiggle and pull, and eventually you'll get it. But I would definitely say it is the hardest. On another note, the factory intercooler, by comparison, let's get some light in here for you guys, hold on. Factory intercooler, by comparison to the CSF or even the cheap manifold, it literally only has 5 rows of cooling, and it looks like it's a tube and fin design versus the bar and plate. All right, we got everything installed, everything bled. We're gonna go ahead and fire up the car, check for leaks, make sure that we're good. All right, guys, so I had hoped to wrap this video up with a little POV drive video, but the weather is not cooperative. Few things. The CSF manifold spacer fit like hot garbage. I've contacted CSF. They're going to send out another one. It didn't not fit the manifold. It didn't fit the head. I'm going to insert a picture. Was very disappointed with that. So the install is complete. The car is running, but I'm going to have to take everything apart to put in the Folex spacer. The heat transfer, if you do one of these, you absolutely need the Folex spacer, regardless of what brand manifold you go with. It absolutely needs a Folex spacer. The heat transfer is crazy. As soon as I park the car and turn it off, and it's been sitting there like 15 minutes, intake temps are like in the 160s, and it's like 50 degrees outside. So Folex spacer, absolutely necessary. As always, if this content helped you, if you like it, share, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.